Nah, studying sucks.
If thou wilt be a sloth, the princess wilt not be saved, and thou will never return home.
But I hate studying.
If thou wilt be a sloth, the princess wilt not be saved, and thou will never return home.
Okay, I'll go hit the books. But I hate studying.
What's the first thing you think of when somebody asks you to name an RPG? Xenogears, Final Fantasy, what about Bushido Blade? Alright guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never been huge on RPGs and I've never really played through much of them because, to be honest with you, at the time I just kind of found them to be boring. At the time, my interests were more focused on hack and slash games, beat 'em ups, and platformers. But there's one truly endearing RPG game that I always think of from time to time. And it's actually a game that I really enjoyed when I was growing up. But I also feel like it's just this game that managed to slip into obscurity ever since its release, and that really sucks. The game I'm referring to is the 1998 title Brave Fencer Musashi by Square Enix. This title never really got the recognition it deserved, as its release date was smack dab in the middle of the releases of some more notable Square titles at the time, like Final Fantasy VII and Xenogears, and because of all the hype surrounding those games, it never really got its time to shine. And honestly, I feel like if not for it being on the demo disc that came with my PlayStation 1, this underrated gem would have never caught my attention. And that's such a shame because it's a really awesome and amazing game in so many different ways. Everything down to its soundtrack, story, characters, and overall design. All of these were employed at such a masterful level, and while it went on to being well received by critics, it really has sort of been underdogged in many ways and underappreciated, all because of its inconvenient release date. So in today's episode, I'd like to look at the RPG classic and hidden gem Brave Fencer Musashi, a game that was conceived at a time before Squaresoft had assimilated with Enix to become the company we know and love today. That was a Brave Fencer Musashi joke. I was trying to make a pun. Just start the video. In this story, you play the bite-sized hero,
You little turd!
or little turd, known as Musashi, who was reincarnated from the legendary Brave Fencer Musashi, who defended the All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom from the Wizard of Darkness 150 years prior. But now, you've been summoned by Princess Filet of the All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom as their last hope of overcoming the Thirst Quencher Empire's invasion on their land. You're equipped with the Fusion Blade, which can be used to assimilate attacks of your enemies, and you're basically told that the only way you can return to your timeline is if you restore order to the kingdom by attaining Lumina, the Sword of Luminescence, before the Thirst Quencher army gets to it. This task is even more complicated once you've fetched Lumina, as you're informed by the people of the palace that the majority of All-You-Can-Eat citizens have been trapped away in magical fields known as Bincho Fields. Yeah, that sounds kinda like a cuss word. And also the princess has been captured. Oh, what are the odds? In order to free the citizens of All-You-Can-Eat, rescue the princess, restore order, and return to your timeline, Musashi must first find the 5 scrolls that contain energy that can be used to augment the powers of Lumina to help him take down the Thirst Quencher Empire for good. These 5 scrolls contain the elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and sky. But the only way you can activate the power of the 5 scrolls is by slaying all 5 of the crest guardians that prevent the crest of the scroll from being activated. Phew, that is a pretty big task for such a small dude. Anyways, you can kind of look at Brave Fencer Musashi as this giant to-do list, where you find yourself bending in all sorts of directions just to find the scrolls and save the kingdom. You not only have a heavy plate right off the bat, but you constantly have to babysit and monitor not only the people of the kingdom, but also the people living in the village as well, especially the people living in the village. It seems like they always need someone to hold their hand. You spend a lot of time going back and forth from All-You-Can-Eat Palace to places like Twin Peak Mountain and Grillin Village. And Grillin Village is basically your hub world where you can rest up, purchase and get items to be appraised to better aid you on your quest, activate new quests, and figure out more about the secrets of the scrolls through your interactions with the townsfolk. And you need to do all of this in order to progress throughout the rest of the game. The only thing is, the townspeople always seem to be in trouble, like losing their dogs, or having vampire attacks, or town's water supply is gone. Well, let's just grab a rope from the church and we can use it to climb down the well and see what's up. The bell is missing, so we can't get into the church? Okay. Musashi, the entire village is on fire. The whole thing. So you've really got to make sure you're on top of things, as side quests in this game are really integral to the successful completion of the story and not really something you can just decide to leave for later. A lot of the characters' names and the names of the towns and every other place you can think of is either some sort of pun or play on words, like the Thirst Quencher Empire, Princess Filet, or even the fact that the kingdom is called the All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom. And it's so corny, but this is the type of wordplay that you'd see in 90s games like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, or even Croc. It adds an overall playful nature to the game, but at the same time it was definitely a staple of the 90s. Not just that, but the character interactions are pretty well written and rarely ever executed poorly. I'd say the only time the dialogue falls flat on its head is sometimes when they try to mix the different dialects of the people, as in some characters speak in Old Tongue while other characters talk like this.
And using the results, we'll have some fun with Musashi. I'll show you! I can do it, if I really put my mind to it!
Which is by no means entirely negative, as this juxtaposition can also have a comedic effect, but sometimes it just didn't always land. It was funny watching Musashi's snide and cheeky back and forth exchanges with other characters. For those of you who are scratching your heads because Musashi's voice sounds somewhat familiar, the character is voiced by Mona Marshall, a pretty common voice actress who has a knack for nailing the voices of prepubescent boys. I mostly remember her as Izzy from Digimon and Kite from Dot Hack. Her voice suits Musashi perfectly and is hilariously endearing to watch this feisty youngster refer to other characters as geezers and jerks, when he has just as much, if not more, attitude than the characters he's ridiculing. He can throw punches, but he can't always take them, so that's a nice subtle irony there that makes it even more entertaining. The game is segmented into 6 different chapters, and throughout the first half of the game, you're basically performing menial tasks for the village people in the hopes that they'll give you hints that will further you on your journey. But as I was saying before, a lot of the townspeople are just downright selfish and will just tell you what you want to hear in order for you to help them with their problems. I mean, like I said, Musashi isn't perfect himself. He's your typical 90s witty, headstrong hero who often at times can be ruder than he intends, but you'll have unbearable characters like the mayor of the town who jeopardizes your safety without a second thought, or people like the selfish bartender who literally unlocked a tomb and let a bunch of ghouls loose in the city just so he could nab treasure for himself. Oh, and then there's Tim. I really hate this kid.
Yo, I'm Tim. My mom owns the grocery. Who the heck are you?
I'm Musashi. Nice to meet you. Whoa, what a brat.
Little boys shouldn't be playing with swords. I'm gonna tell on you!
Listen here, you little pipsqueak manlet-looking prick. I hope you get trapped in a bincho field because right now you're acting a little bit like a bench. Oh no, Tim got bit by one of the creatures that the bartender let loose, and he only has a few hours to live. Oh no, we have to help him. Oh no. And out of all the characters you encounter on your journey, probably one of the most likable characters will be your friend and confidant, Treasure Hunter John.
My man.
Voiced by Steve Blum. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where the pun is in this one. Is it, John and Leno, like, John Lennon because of the glasses? No, that's stupid. Okay, I think I got it. Jay Leno. In terms of the map, there's a good amount of colorful and spacious areas for you to explore while on your journey. But to improve on navigation, I think it would have been really helpful if the player was equipped with some kind of map to help them maneuver through the forest with ease. It's not a huge deal, and the more you play the game, the more familiar you'll be with the space around you, especially since the game is contained in a singular area as opposed to being in multiple villages. But coming back to this game, I sometimes found myself getting lost or a little bit disoriented, and I feel like the controls also played somewhat of a hand in this. The camera tracking in the game is is fine, but in some locations I wish there was a little more freedom with the camera movements. But once again, it's not a huge enough issue for me to rage over. One mechanic that I thought was really interesting was the fact that Musashi has the ability to get tired. The game has an internal clock built into it, and the more active you are, the higher of a percentage Musashi's tiredness will go throughout the day. You can't just grind through the game mindlessly, but you have to pay attention to your sleep meter or you'll find yourself having narcoleptic episodes in the most random of places. You okay there, pal? Also, the more tired you get in this game, then your stamina lowers, so it's important to rest and recharge either at an inn, your room in the palace, or even outside as long as you're out of harm's way. There's also some timed events in the game as well, where you have to race against the clock in order to complete a task. I really like the implementation of both the sleep meter and timed events because I personally feel like it adds an extra bit of realness to the game. In real life, you don't always have the time in the world to complete a task, and humans get tired, so I like that extra bit of immersion that they've decided to include. Oh, and speaking of immersion, while it bears no impact to the story in any way, there's a shop located in Grillin Village completely stockpiled with action figures. The action figures in the game are all major characters you encounter throughout your journey, and you can buy, collect, and store them in your room in all-you-can-eat palace. It's a fun little thing to do at the side, and to be honest, it's such a cool concept. You can unbox the figures, pose them, and they all come with pre-recorded sounds like you're actually fiddling with a real toy. Man, if they ever remaster this game, they should totally consider selling these in real life to help promote it. Actually, scratch that. Can anyone extract the game data and have these 3D printed for me? They're freaking sick! Like I said earlier, you have the power to assimilate the attacks of any creature you absorb with your fusion sword, and there's a good variance of enemies in the game whose abilities can be used in order to get from point A to point B. You've got a weird plant creature with springs attached to it, weird plants that spit out bowling balls, pigmen. Once you fight the remainder of the enemies, defeat the Crest Guardians, and unlock all of the hidden scrolls, it's finally time to take on the Thirst Quencher Empire in their super floaty castle in the sky. You end up engaging in a series of boss battles in order to get your hands on the leader of the group. And I think out of all the battles, my favorite was with the villain Topo, and her fight is the most colorful to say the least. She calls it her rave party. You don't actually engage in combat with her because Topo reminds you that even though she's a bad guy, she's still a girl. So that means you can't fight. Okay, so like the gentleman that you are, you instead agree to face her in a memory rhythm game Topo likes to call Dance or Die. The game is brief but super fun and mainly sticks out to me because of its stark contrast from the rest of the game. It's like you're playing DDR and you're a samurai, like what's that all about? Once you defeat all the minions, there's two pretty big twists at the end of the game, and so not to spoil it, I'll just keep my mouth shut. You'll just have to play the game and find out for yourself. And those are my in-depth thoughts on Brave Fencer Musashi. It's a hilarious and fun RPG that just came out at the wrong time and had trouble building momentum against all the stiff competition of that year. But it's definitely a classic gem that I'd recommend to anyone, whether they played RPGs or not. I don't really play RPGs and I love it. And if you don't like it, well, it comes with Final Fantasy VIII. I don't know. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. I understand some of you are new to my channel, so hello to all the new faces out there. I really appreciate all the extra support, it means a lot to me. If you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you want to see more videos of this nature. And if you guys want to be up to date with when my videos come out, then don't forget to click that little bell for instant notifications. Anyways, until next time guys, thanks for watching!
I was transported to a faraway land, into a world where monsters rule. I played the game like an ace. Now we're in this place to save the monsters from the evil mood. Monsters rule.